Hey everyone, this is Riddle Hakureja Rave, and I'm here with my recap and review of P-Valley season number 2, episode number 2. And yeah, P-Valley is back. I think season number 1 was back in 2020, and now it's back in 2022. And I did watch the previous episode, of course, and it showed that, yeah, things have been tough, especially because of what's been happening in the real world and how that was included into this fictional world as well, with the business trying to stay afloat, and they ended up coming they ended up thinking of a very effective plan, in a sense that they ended up having the women continue to give their dances in a car wash type setting, which worked. But now in the previous episode we saw that the lockdowns are being lifted, the restrictions are being lifted. So yeah, the pink is back in business, and this is where Hailey is like, you know what? We need more girls. We need more girls in order to carry all of the pressure. But Mercedes isn't a fan of that. But then again, Mercedes is having issues with her scapula. But we'll get to it in a bit. So the episode opens up with Big L just looking at all of the women that have appeared, that arrived for auditions at the Pink, and he ends up noticing one of the women, and he's like, you know what? I don't think that you have the face to be up on the polls, so might as well audition for a sweeping position. And then there's this girl, I think her name is Big Bones, and she ends up catching Big L's eye. So we get this very funny montage of people giving their auditions. It's a very inclusive audition where I guess non-binary individuals are invited, and they ended up showing their skills. And it's time for Hailey, Uncle Clifford, and Mercedes to choose their pack, because Mercedes the one who has to choose the girls, and she does end up choosing two. She ends up, I guess, one of the girls' name is Whisper, and the other girl's name I can't remember right now. So after Mercedes has chosen two of her girls, she goes for the third, but Hailey steps in and she ends up choosing Big Bones. And yeah, Mercedes like, no, Big Bones can't even dance. She can't work the pole. What are you doing, Hailey? And Hailey's like, you know what? She has a look, she has a face that we can use. And Mercedes like, no, I'm not a coach, I'm not going to train her. And Haley's like, you know what, it doesn't matter, I can use her behind the bar. And she ends up taking Big Bones, this woman here, she ends up taking her away. Before they can talk more about it, this is where Clifford appears. And in the previous episode, we saw that Clifford wants Andre to start working for him again, and Andre does that because Andre wants to stay here. And in the previous episode, I was I felt bad for Andre's wife, especially because she's a first responder and everything that she's been going through, and Andre hasn't been giving her the support that she needs. It's just bad. Andre has issues. So Uncle Clifford is like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. What's this guy's name? Chaplin? Or something? It starts with a C, right? I forget. Yeah, I can't remember right now. So yeah, he's here and they want to talk about it, but we cut to a scene between Keyshawn and Derek, and they're talking to the sheriff, and because Derek wants Diamond behind bars, and the sheriff is like, you know what, Derek, I can't do that. Even if I do put out an arrest warrant for Diamond, you'll need to be involved as well. I need to arrest you too, and we can't have that, right? We can't have that right now because of the kids and everything. And Derek understands that, and he's like, okay, whatever you say. And after Derek goes away, Keyshawn ends up having a conversation with the sheriff, and yeah, it's an okay conversation. So Mercedes is trying to show the two new recruits some of the moves, and yeah, her arm, her shoulder has been hurting her, and of course the new recruits notice, and they're like, hey, Mercedes, do you want us to go and get you some rubbing alcohol? And Mercedes doesn't like that, because Mercedes is like, did that new recruit just insinuate that I'm a grandma? It's new blood, it happens. So yeah, these two are the new recruits. And we see Mercedes talking to Big Al, and Big Al is the one who tells Mercedes that, you know what, I have no idea what Clifford and Hailey are talking about during the business meeting with Andre and his client, but I have to say, but I will tell you something, that even the devil started out as an angel. He's basically warning Mercedes not to trust too much, not to trust Hailey too much, because Hailey might end up harming her again or something, or making her sacrifice something again. And then we cut to the meeting, and yeah, the meeting doesn't go the way that Andre and his client. Again, I forget this guy's name. What's his name? It's not Uncle. Yeah, it's not Clifford. It starts with a C, right? It starts with a C. Huh. But yeah, it doesn't go the way they planned, because Hailey and Clifford aren't ready to sell right now, even though Andre and his client are offering them a lot of money, because yeah, Hailey and Clifford knows that the people behind Promised Land, they're going to make a play, they're going to make a move, and that the pink, because of desire and demand, it's going to cost way more than what Andre is presenting them, is offering them, and yeah, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. But before they can continue talking further, this is where Clifford is being asked outside, and we got flyers for the Pink's re grand opening. And yeah, it turns out that Hailey, without telling Clifford, she ended up scheduling the reopening to this Friday, and Clifford isn't happy about it. And the guy who Andre is working for, even he's like, "Oh, Clifford, that's an interesting way to celebrate your birthday." And Hailey didn't know that it was Clifford's birthday. So Hailey and Clifford have it out in the office. And yeah, Uncle Clifford is like, "Hailey, it's not about the birthday, okay? It's just that you're making decisions without telling me, without consulting me. And even if you're the owner, don't forget that I'm the boss." And Hailey is like, "Well, you know what? I did what I had to do because we need the money." And Clifford is like, "We're not ready. We are not ready. We don't even have a DJ." And Hailey responds by saying that Big Al should be the one DJing the set. And yeah, it doesn't work out. Yeah, these two have an argument, and Hailey is like, "Well, you end up running your mouth way too much. Why don't you something? Why don't you do something in order to help the Pink?" And Clifford is like, "You know what? I don't have time for this. I do not have time for this." And Mercedes walks in, and Mercedes is like, "Okay, so who scheduled the Pink's reopening so soon? It's on Clifford's birthday." And yeah, Clifford is like, "You know what? Hailey did it, but I don't have time for this drama. I'm going." And Hailey can handle the reopening by herself. And Clifford storms off. And then we cut to a scene with Mercedes' mom. She's just having fun with her church and whatnot, doing food drives and doing charitable work. And Clifford comes home, and he ends up talking to his grandma about what Hailey did. And his grandma is like, I don't understand. Why don't you just kill her?" And Clifford is like, "Ugh." Yeah, he is annoyed by Hailey. So there's a knock at the door, and yeah, it's Little Murder. It's Lil Murder. Lil Murder came to give Clifford a message, because Clifford basically has Lil Murder on ice. He is reading the messages that Lil Murder is sending him, but he's not receiving his calls. He's not responding to his texts. And this was a very, very emotional, it was a well-written scene, in my opinion, because yeah, Clifford doesn't want Lil Murder to know that he's inside his house, so he hides behind the door, and Lil Murder is able to see Clifford behind the door, and because of a mirror, and then he ends up basically everything he's saying, he's basically talking to Clifford about how he misses him and how he wishes that he handles the situation differently, and then he ends up telling Clifford that he's going on tour and whatnot, and yeah, he says goodbye to Clifford, and yeah. And Clifford doesn't say anything. He just pretends that he's not at home. So Andre comes back home, and this is where he notices a pipe running out of his house. He follows the pipe, and this is where he realizes that his godfather basically ended up giving away a lot of his water, and he has been paying bills. I think his water energy bill was like $10,000 a month. Basically, he's been helping the community, and Andre is going through all of his old bills, and then he goes back to the video cassette that he found in the previous episode. He plays it, and it's basically a young Andre and his godfather supporting him, because Andre wanted to be a president. And yeah, his godfather is like, "You know what, a whole lot of people are going to tell you that you can't become a president, but don't listen to them, believe in yourself." So we cut to Keyshawn, and yeah, Derek finds out that Keyshawn ended up basically throwing away some of the diapers because she needed an excuse to go out. And yeah, Derek's like, okay, Keyshawn, so you went to the dollar store and you ended up talking to Diamond, right? You ended up talking to Diamond. Keyshawn is like, it's not like that, Derek. It's not like that. So Derek storms off. Keyshawn follows him, and it turns out that Derek is basically talking to the manager of the dollar store on the phone, and he's basically filing a complaint against Diamond. He wants Diamond out of the job. And even Keyshawn tells Derek that, yeah, Diamond yelled at her about wearing a mask. And yeah, Derek wants Diamond out of the job. And this is where Keyshawn is like, oh, Diamond was yelling at me about my mask, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Also, he was saying something about you calling us gutter, yeah. And yeah, Derek is like, Keyshawn, you know that I would never say that, right? You trust me. And I'm like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So this is where Keyshawn ends up telling Derek that, you know what, things are changing, the pink is opening up, I need a crowd, and Lil Murder is going on tour, we need the money. And Derek's like, when will it be enough, Keyshawn? When will it be enough? And she's like, well, it will be enough when we get the house that we have always talked about, we get the backyard that we want our kids to have, and we need to do this, Derek, we need to do this. So we cut to Lil Murder and him and his agents, and they go to the police station in order to get this guy. Now, I do apologize. Maybe we saw him in season number 1. If we did, I have no memory of him, so I apologize. So yeah, he's back, and basically these three are friends now. So Keyshawn's agent ends up coming to talk to her about her eyelash line and everything, and tour with Lil Murder. And this is where he tells her that, you know what, you're going to get the best of the best. However, all of the expenses will be paid. From your cut of the door. And Keyshawn is like, I'm not here for it, because you know what, Derek is going to get a job. Even though Keyshawn knows that Derek didn't get the job, she's still using that to her advantage, which we'll see come into play later down in the episode. And Keyshawn is like, you know what, Derek just got a manager position at the store, and yeah, and we need the money. And even if I do go on tour because of all of the expenses, I won't necessarily be saving a lot of money. So I'm not really sure if it's worth it. So bye bye. And of course, the agent isn't happy. He ends up telling Lil Murder that, you know what, we need Keyshawn to draw a crowd. And this is where the guy that Lil Murder ended up meeting outside the jail. He ends up playing the game, the party party murder game. And yeah, it's weird. It's a very, very weird interaction. And yeah, as the 4 men are talking, this is where Keyshawn ends up messaging the agent that, thanks, I'll do the rest. Or does she message Lil Murder? I'm not really sure, but she messages them that, you know what, thanks, I'll do the rest, which means that Keyshawn has a plan in order to make Derek agree to letting her go on tour. So it's time for the Pink's reopening, and Whisper is basically talking to the universe, answering certain questions about paternity tests and whatnot. And yeah, Hailey and Mercedes are like, you know what, we do not have time for this. So Clifford is at his house. It's his birthday. No one necessarily is celebrating his birthday. He gets like one message from one of his friends, and yeah, he ends up going to Instagram, and he opens up Lil Murder's Instagram page, and it's the Dirty Dozen tour. And he's like, you know what, might as well pleasure myself watching this watching this image. But yeah, before he can do anything, this is where Ernestine calls to Clifford, and she's like, you know what, Clifford, you need to come down and throw away the trash. And while that's happening, we get to see this weird person wearing a ghost face mask outside the window, and I'm like, what is happening, P-Valley? What is happening? Because we did get a bit of supernatural hints in the previous episode, and then we get a whole lot of those hints in this episode. So is P-Valley turning into a supernatural mystery type of thing? I'm here for it, I guess. So Clifford goes outside with the trash bags, but before Clifford can come in, this is where Clifford ends up getting kidnapped, and I'm like, what the heck is happening? Who is doing this? Who is behind this? Why is Clifford is in danger? I don't want anything bad happening to Clifford. And Clifford calls out to his grandmother, but yeah, she doesn't listen. She isn't able to hear Clifford because she's enjoying the TV. So Hailey is trying to handle things at the Pink. It's not working well, and Big Al is basically trying to contain a fire. And yeah, coming back to Clifford, so it turns out that it's basically Clifford being kidnapped for a surprise birthday party, and I'm like, okay, okay, that's good. And yeah, Clifford is all readied up, and everyone is having fun. But Clifford's mind is only on Lil Murder because Clifford wanted Lil Murder to arrive at the party, I guess. The heart wants what it wants. So Mercedes is trying to teach Duke recruit some of the moves in the private lounge, but this is where Whisper notices something in the lounge where they ended up killing Montavious, and yeah, Mercedes doesn't like that one bit, but Whisper walks in and she's like, yeah, I can feel a presence here. You can ask it questions, and the new recruit, this one, she asks a question about whether or not she's going to make a lot of money tonight, and yeah, the answer is yes. And then Whisper is like, Mercedes, it's your turn. But before Mercedes can say anything, Hailey comes in and it's like, I need you all outside right now. And as Whisper is walking past Mercedes, she gives her a very, very strange look. And again, is P Valley turning supernatural? I have no idea. So this is where Clifford ends up telling her friends about Lil Murder, and they're like, hey, you know what? Life is short. We all have like one life, so if you want to be with Lil Murder, you should go after him. But yeah, that doesn't necessarily work out in this episode because Clifford does hook up with someone, and it's not Lil Murder. It's this guy who Clifford goes to for some roller skates, and I guess he basically ends up taking out his D in front of Clifford, and they hook up, and he tries to kiss Clifford, and Clifford is like, I don't want to get infected with the Rona. And I'm like, you know what, Clifford, you don't want to kiss any other dude that's not Lil Murder, right? That's why you don't want to kiss this guy. So we cut to Mercedes and the new recruits performing for the people, and yeah, the new recruits are on a whole other level. They're doing these aerial acrobatics and everything, and Mercedes is trying to catch up to them, but she's injured because of her shoulder problem, and it's not working well for her because all of the attention is on the new recruits. And yeah, Mercedes is like, you know what, I have to do something. So she tries to do one of her tougher moves, but her shoulder gives away and she falls. She just falls down, and I was waiting for her to fall down. I was, and it happened, and I'm like, oh, Mercedes, oh, please, please. I don't want anything breaking. Fortunately, nothing broke. Because Uncle Clifford ended up taking Mercedes to Diamond because all of the hospitals were full capacity. And this was a very, very weird scene because Diamond ends up using this weird energy aura healing ability in order to detect something stuck inside Mercedes' shoulder, and he snaps his finger and Mercedes ends up twitching, and then we see Diamond like take out all of the pressure from Mercedes, and he yeah, it's weird. It's just weird. And he puts all of the pressure on a scale, and it's basically the pressure weighs like what, 7 pounds, and he's like, you know what? All I know is that 7 pounds of force is or 6 pounds. I think it's 6 pounds. It's basically 6 or 7 pounds of force is what you need to pull a trigger. And yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And Mercedes, of course, blames Hailey for all of this, and she's like, it's because of you that I'm going through this. It's your fault. It's your fault. And then Hailey notices that Diamond has Montavious' ring, and she's like, why the heck do you still have the ring? Why the heck do you still have evidence? And Diamond is like, well, I needed it to root him down because so that he will never come back to haunt us and whatnot. And I'm like, wow, Diamond, wow. And then we get the scene where all the pressure is being released from the scale, and creepy. So everyone walks out, and Hailey is like, you know what, Diamond, we can use you at the Pink, right? And Diamond is like, yeah, I got fired from my dollar store job, so I do need a new job. But then again, I don't like the vibes of that place. And Hailey is like, well, we can sage the place, you know? And Clifford is like, hey, Hailey, no, this is not the time. So Hailey and Mercedes start talking, and Mercedes is like, Hailey, I've had enough. I have had enough. I've sacrificed a whole lot for you, and I want you out. I want you out of the house. And Hailey is like, well, I'll go tomorrow. And Mercedes, no. I want you out of the house right now. And yeah, Hailey is, she basically has no other place to go, and she ends up going to stay the night at the Pink. But before that happens, we see Keyshawn basically working some manipulation on Derek, which, you know what, good for you, Keyshawn, good for you. Because Derek tells Keyshawn that he didn't get the job, which Keyshawn already knew. And Keyshawn is like, well, we need the money, right? And you need to trust me. So Lil Murder is going to go on tour in the morning. You need to let me go, Derek. You need to let me go. I almost killed a man for you, Derek. You're the only one I love, so you need to trust me. And Derek's like, okay, okay. So Hailey is all alone in the Pink, and we get to see the security footage, and we get to see this weird person inside the paradise room, and I'm like, oh, ghosts. We're getting ghosts in P Valley. So Hailey is working the pole just to relax herself, and this is where Andre walks in, and Andre's like, "Where is everyone? The Pink doesn't close till 5." And Hailey's like, "Well, it happened. Okay, it's closed now." And then these two end up talking a bit, and Andrea's like, "Okay, so you are willing to sell this place, right?" And Hailey's like, "Of course I am. I'm just waiting for a big D offer, and it's not like it's anyone's home, right? It's just a building. It's just a business. I will sell it." And Andrea's like, "You know what, Hailey? Thank you for basically making me attend the funeral, thank you." And Haley's like, "Yeah, I guess, thank you, you're welcome." And then these two hug, and I'm like, really? I just don't like these two as a couple. I don't know about you guys, but this entire couple is full of issues. So these two hug it out, and again, I feel sorry for Andre's wife. So they hug it out, and it's the morning, and Keyshawn says goodbye to her kids, and I'm like, at least Derek is a good father as far as the kids are concerned. And she ends up sitting inside Lil Murder's tour bus, car, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, the episode basically ends with Keyshawn looking at the camera with this very, very satisfied expression on her face because she got what she wanted. And I'm like, good for you, Keyshawn. Good for you. And this is where the episode ends. Of course, I'm looking forward to the episode number 3. And again, the supernatural angle. I'm not really sure how I feel about it right now, but I'm not against it. I am not against it. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the episode down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later.